Hello, good morning. My name is Tobias Schöner and I'm working for Extreme Group, also for Extreme Distribution in sales and business development. And I'd want to welcome you to the third day of the Indian Promotion Week, which we are very delighted to do. It's something which an initiative which we started the first time, where we present briefly our exclusive vendor partners from Extreme Distribution mainly, and then have some special offers until the end of the year, which are super interesting, which we'll announce at the end of this session. Today, it's the session of Capella Systems, a company from America, San Jose, a file and live transcoding company. And I'm very happy to have actually my boss with me, who's an expert, not just in workflows, software integration, which we speak about a bit more on Friday, but also on the transcoding topic, because in his working history, he was working with the team of Capella when they were both working in other companies. So thank you very much, Stefan, for joining us, and welcome to this morning's session about Capella Systems.
Yeah, thanks so much. Hello, Tobias. Hello, everyone out there. Great to have you with us. I will give you an insight into transcoding and the products in a special. So happy to be with you. So probably I'm taking over the screen share. So I'm Stefan, and today here to represent the products from Capella Systems. So who is Capella? It is a company that is focused on transcoding, established by some ex-colleagues of mine from my Rosette times. The company is based in San Jose, California. It's a team of about 15 engineers focused and totally addicted to transcoding. We will see in a moment that it's not only file transcoding, it's also live transcoding and some other things around. Privately held, very focused, very customer oriented, highly to recommend, and this is why we are here showing you the products today. Before I'm jumping into the products, let me give you a high-level overview. What does transcoding mean, especially for those out there that are probably not that much in the technology yet? Transcoding versus rewrapping. What does transcoding mean? At the end, it means to convert a video file format and also an audio file format from one format into another. Now, how is a format defined? A format is a container with video and audio tracks in it. And for that reason, a transcoder, as the very first thing, is so-called demuxing the source file or stream into the video part and the audio part and the metadata. Metadata can be also teletext, subtitles, descriptional metadata, technical metadata. And then from there, audio and video is separately decoded. We do apply filters if applicable. Some of them are applied automatically. Others can be applied on purpose manually or defined within an automatic workflow. And then we encode again, audio and video separate. Afterwards, the audio and video tracks are muxed back, and the file or the stream is written out. Metadata can be handled at different places. On one hand, as it's shown here in this diagram, at the source and the target demuxer and muxer, but it also can apply to video filters. Think about you get a time code from a video file, but for browsing purposes, you write in a time code into the video, then it applies to the video filter. So far, that is transcoding. Sounds simple, most often is, but there are edge cases. Now, what's the difference to rewrapping or transmuxing, as it's called sometimes? That's shown at this other picture here. And at the end of the day, you can see that everything in the middle is simply not done. Means we do demux and remux. So we are rewriting the container, but we are not touching the video and the audio essence. So the video and the audio track. We are just changing the shell, but not the inner. Obviously, that has the big advantage that all the quality is preserved. So now we will jump into the product. And I think the very first what we should do is to give you an idea what the product family consists of, so to give you a little bit of orientation. Why? It is more than just one single product. You need to have a little bit of an understanding. This slide here tries to summarize things. Oops, sorry. On the left-hand side, we see all the products that are related to live operations, and on the right-hand side, the products concerning the file operations. Let's start with the right-hand side. You can see there's a so-called Cambria cluster. Cambria is the name of the all-over product family. Everything is called Cambria. And the Cambria cluster is a transcoding farm manager. Obviously, if you have a single station transcoding farm, what is then just not a farm, but just a single station, you do not need the farm manager. You would only have the farm node, what is the Cambria file convert, FTC. FTC is on one hand a desktop application, on the other hand is a Windows service. It has an API. It is at the end of the day the product that performs all the transcoding operations. There's a newer product. What is the Cambria FTC packager? What is a subset of FTC? You can say it is a remixer, as we have just defined a little bit earlier, that is focused on the streaming formats, on the so-called OTT or HTTP streaming formats. So it can take an MP4 or a transport stream and wrap that into a streaming format like Apple HLS and others. Let's look into the left-hand side. Here we do have the Cambria Live products. Again, we have a farm manager, and the farm manager looks similar, has the same purpose. It is managing a number of transcoding nodes, and the main working horse is Cambria Live. What is again a desktop application? Then we call it Cambria Live Studio, and it is the service that performs the actual live transcoding. We have a specialty that is Cambria Live Edit. What is an application that is made to sit in practice in between the live and the file side, because it helps you, it's a client application, to set in and out points in a live streaming loop recording. And this in and out points can be either used for another live playout, what is then kind of an highlights playout in the pause, in the break of an sports event, for instance, or it can be used to drive the file transcoder to generate the highlights as video on demand files. Then last but not least, we have again packagers, same concept. It is the Cambria Live engine without the transcoding, just with the packaging. The purpose is to repackage or to package already live encoded files. So far, so good. Today, we will not look that much into the live side. We do not have enough time. We will concentrate on the file transcoder. And let's jump into this. Cambria FTC. It is a transcoder that, as said, has the engine, has an API, has a watch folder, has user interfaces, and I will show you this in a moment. Supports many formats, all the important ones for the operations today, and it scales from lowest resolutions up to 8K with everything in between and all the video formats that you can think of. Streaming formats, production formats, archive formats, what else? Broadcasting formats, post-production formats, all in. We look on the trade-off in between quality and speed. On one hand, it's focused to give you high speed transcoding, but on the other hand, it's also optimized for high quality. Something that I cannot easily demonstrate, probably you believe me, but the team is really focused on this. And it has various hooks so that in a workflow, you can integrate with all the surroundings, either by driving scripts, command line tools, web service, does web service calls, does FTP up and downloads, can integrate in a cloud with S3 protocols, integrates with filters from third parties like subtitling from Easy Titles, and so on and so on. Now, I will stop here showing you slides and I will show you the live application. I think that makes more sense. I'm connected here with our data center. And let me open this in the full screen mode. I think that makes more sense to get the best view on the application. Here we go. We have a small farm fully virtualized in our data center. Here you can see, actually we have, I'm in the so-called, oh, that's the wrong one. That's the broadcast manager. That's the live transcoder. That does not help. Yeah, but as we are here that very moment, so that is a farm of live transcoders. 3 of them are online that very moment. There are some others that are standby. Our demo 5 is in our control room. It's currently turned off. And Stracciatella is the laptop of my colleague. The farm can have redundancy, so we can configure a full redundant farm management where one of the machines is the primary and the other one is the backup. We can control SDI routers to get the input signal to the right transcoding machine within the farm, obviously also for redundancy. Yeah, we can monitor what's going on in the farm. And we have an output view actually not shown here. And last but not least, the transcoder allows to schedule the streaming. So it's not only a 24/7 transcoder that runs forever. Obviously, this is something that you can define as well, but you can also say, I'm starting a job right now and I want to repeat that every day for 5 minutes. So for instance, here from 12 o'clock to 12, let's say 12:10, like the streaming of the news break that is always shown in the noontime. And I can say, okay, please do that every day. And retry it for 10 minutes. So something like this would generate a job. Obviously, I need to give it a name and I need to load a profile. I won't do that because we wanted to show you the file transcoder today. Now, obviously, you're getting an error message here. The funny thing is, what I've shown you here was not a waste of time because you will see in a second that the file transcoder management application looks very, very, very similar. It's the identical technology. And for that reason, let me jump over here. What's also interesting for people that need both file and live transcoding, because for them it's easy to train their transcoding management teams. They will simply have the same application on both sides, same or similar APIs, configuration methods, and so on. So here we have the desktop transcoder, and in the background we have the file transcoder, the farm manager. And as promised, it looks very similar. Where's the difference? Obviously, we do not have scheduled live transcodings or programs, but we have files that are performed. Let me simply requeue some of that jobs. Then we see something running in the farm. We have the job queue manager, where we can see that these jobs are now executed on different machines. Here on the very right-hand side in that column, we can see that they are now spread across the farm. Every of that machine has taken one. And when we highlight one of them, then we can also see the progress. In addition, we have a dashboard. In that dashboard, we see the transcoding history and we see the actually running jobs in this panel view below. We have statistics about what was transcoded, how much, at what times, what machine was performing good, what machine was performing bad, not that good, and so on. And again, we have the farm management view. It is identical, and we have the redundancy configuration. Now, what's different? We have a watch folder that we can orchestrate, and that is something that I will show you in about 5 minutes from now. From here, let's quickly look at the transcoding desktop application. That is simply because here we can see what the transcoder does. So, because what happened here in the background is hard to understand when you don't see the actual transcoding setup. That is done with this application. It's also called FTC. With drag and drop, I have loaded some clips. As you can see, it's a mixture of an MXF file, finally one with no audio. Then I've loaded a MOV file that is a stereo pair, but with JPEG 2000 codec, while the MXF was DVC Pro 50. And I have another transport stream file with MPEG-2 video in it in this particular case. And all of them are in a totally different resolution, SD, Full HD, 720p, does not matter. I can play the file simply with a double click. That gives me access to a player. And from here, I can play the file, can set in and out points, can define fade in and fade out. Always useful if you have to trim manually. I can apply audio and video filters. That is what we've spoken about before. I want to highlight just some that are a little bit different. So for instance, there's an automatic cropping filter. What means it gives me the possibility to crop away the pillar boxing and letter boxing fully automatically. If there are black areas in the video, it will be taken away. If there's not, it will simply not. That helps you to deal with situations about archive content where content, for instance, was 16:9, but in a technical 4:3 format. We have filters to remove black video sequences. We also can detect pictures or even video sequences to remove. Think about technical pre-rolls. We can remove color bars. We can obviously adjust color spaces. Now, why do we need that? It's not necessary for all the SD and HD formats, but for Ultra HD, most often the sources are not flagged correctly. So here we can define kind of override how the video needs to be interpreted when it's being converted from the source to the target video standard. So especially for all the HDR color spaces. And again, we have a preview. Obviously here I've selected something that makes no sense, and for that reason I'm getting an error message. What else? There is lots of filters about subtitle imprinting, text imprinting, lower thirds, graphics, logos, time code, obviously. We can add a pre and a post roll, like opener and closer. We can rotate video that is necessary for all the user-generated content from smartphones. We can even adjust the speed. We do have filters for audio, as I mentioned as well. Let me just grab one of those. That is the normalizing. Here we can see that we can normalize according to different standards. American standards, European R128, for instance. And all the filters that I've shown you so far are part of the standard product, so free of charge. There's no extra on this. Yeah, let me take this one. Then as next, we have a possibility to define the audio layout. That is necessary when we are working in a, for instance, multi-language scenario where our source includes more languages, or it includes stereo plus 5.1. We can tell the transcoder what the layout of the tracks of the source are. In simple cases, that's not necessary, but it helps for more complex cases. Yeah, and last but not least, we can analyze the source. We get a report on this, and from that report, we can get the information into a content management system. We can start a support case, or we can also create a target setting. Finally, it takes a little bit longer today. So that is what I've meant, and sometimes it works, and I can create a preset from there. In this case, not. That was because of this JPEG 2000 format. I would end up here in the encoding side. The encoder gives me access to the settings. With a double click, I can enter the so-called preset editor. And that preset editor gives me access to all the transcoding settings. So in this particular case, I've selected a transport stream with an H.264 in it. What are the alternatives like HEVC, MPEG-1, MPEG-2, or pass-through? Pass-through would mean I'm modifying the transcoding to become a rewrapper. You remember what I told you earlier. So pass-through of audio and video is a pure rewrapper. If I do a pass-through only on the video but not on the audio, then yeah, I would simply forward the audio. That applies sometimes when I have Dolby sources where I do not want to touch the audio but only want to transcode the video. For instance, as in my case, from an MPEG-2 to an H.264. What are the other formats? We cannot talk about all of them, but there's MP4, there's MXF, there's MOV, there's old Windows Media, there are the adaptive bitrate exporters, and that goes up even to a Dolby Vision. That's all in that transcoder available. Let me pick one alternative, that is the the adaptive streaming exporter. Easy to understand what it does. It creates various renditions, so bitrate formats from the same source. In this particular case here, by default, it's 4. From HD down to sub SD, it adds, in this case, one audio stream. I can have multiple. And then it does the packaging into my streaming format. And supported is like Dash HLS, Microsoft Smooth Stream, fragmented MP4. There's even integration with the DRM. So for the encryption, the transcoder can do the encryption as well. Then again, filtering, the same as on the source side, some other filters in addition. We can do post tasks, what is like an upload and a download, FTP, or even the integration directly with the social media. We can run command lines scripts. We can, with the so-called notification, send emails, do web service calls, create log files, run again a command line script on various conditions, or we can perform a so-called scriptable workflow. That is a very powerful tool because these scripts are executed that very moment when the job starts, and it allows me either to react only on file names, technical metadata of the files, or even the content of the video files. So I can say, please analyze, let's say, 2 minutes of my source file and then run a script that does something. What is that good for? You want to combine audio with video and or subtitle files. You want to react on my file is not of right quality, like it is SD, but I want to transcode to HD. So I'm refusing that source and I'm sending someone an email. I can do a bitrate calculation, the so-called source adaptive bitrate ladder. What means I can say when my source is of lots of motion, so means it's an action movie, then I'm increasing the bandwidth. But if it's like boring news, then I'm lowering the bandwidth, so the bit rates of the video encoding. And that way I can save money on the CDN because I'm streaming less data. Way more things, not enough time today to elaborate on all of them. So this is how we create a job, and from there I can run it either here in the application or I can queue it to the background. I'm doing this right now, and that gives me then new jobs here in the application where this job is now being performed in my transcoder. There have been a lot of them failing, don't know why. As said, we have the job management, and in addition, we have watch folder management. The watch folders, just to show you as the last thing, let me do this smaller, is, you are pointing the transcoder to a source location, typically on a NAS. Sometimes it's on a local drive. As you can see here, we have mapped some of them. Then alternatively, you can download the files from a certain place, so from FTP or other UNC locations to the transcoder itself, do the transcoding there, and then an upload at the end. We can work on growing files. We can treat them as a group of files, as mentioned earlier. That applies when you have audio and video plus subtitles together. We can run the encoding, but also other actions. So when I'm adding a normal encoding, a dialog comes up that you know meanwhile already, because it's the exact same that you have seen earlier. That is our preset editor. Takes a moment, and then it should come up. So here, that's the place where I'm adding a transcoding. I will simply take it as it is. But I can add other actions. So like I can say, after the transcoding, I want to move my source to a different place. When I have done this, then at the end, I want to do, let's say, I'm sending an email. So yeah, it tells me that was not correct, Stefan. That's not an email address.
You kind of have to come to an end as well.
Yeah, thanks, Toby.
Thank you.
So we can add all of these functions one by one, and can create a workflow from there. And this is why we said there's to a certain degree a workflow management built in. And last but not least, we can clean up. And the idea here is we keep the files for 1 day after the transcoding was successful. So the trigger is like we did, the file was used, but it was used successfully. And then we delete it. And if it was not used successfully, we will not touch it. We will keep it as long as it takes to work on it. So that's an overview on the file transcoder. Just to conclude, there is the transcoding farm that we look on this very moment. In my case, it consists from 3 machines. And in addition, there is the desktop transcoder. There's an API that is available to talk to the transcoder, done with a very simple XML structure that is easy to understand. I've just loaded it here. We'll not go into the details, driven by REST calls. And beside this, there's also the file transcoding world. If you are interested in that, give us a ping and we will give you a run through and show you all the details about this. So that's it for today. I hope you have been interested in this case. Please make contact with Toby and he will organize a demo for you. Toby, thank you so much.
Thank you, Stefan. So we now have the great pleasure, or I have the pleasure to announce the kind of highlights of this promotion week of Capella. And actually to kind of really promote you to do that quickly and to think about doing that rather early, we'd like to challenge you to contact us kind of as soon as possible, actually immediately. And what we can offer, which is quite interesting, if you would order within this year, which would mean within December, so you still have some 15 days to go, we would offer you the first year of SLA for free. And as Stefan mentioned, not just the product is great, but also the team is very reluctant to answer and is very quickly and in the support topics. That's really something worth with Capella. So please contact us or the Rahul Commerce team at that point. Also, thank you very much. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. I'm very sorry for that. We do this India Promotion Week, of course, with our trusted partner, Rahul Commerce. And I thank them for their valuable support. And I'd like to continue the week tomorrow and the day after. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you very much, Stefan.
Thank you. All the best.
Bye.
Bye-bye.